ẹ̀kọ́ dára púpọ̀, ẹ̀kọ́ ló láyé táwa yìí sẹ́. Ẹ̀kọ́ dára púpọ̀, ẹ̀kọ́ ló láyé táwa yìí sẹ́. Ẹ̀kọ́ ló ń gbé ní dẹni gíga, ẹ̀kọ́ ló ń gbé ní dépò ọlá. Ẹ dákun yé ẹ̀yin òbí wa, lẹ́bàá lówó kẹjọ kẹtọ́ wa. Ẹ̀kọ́ ló ń gbé ní dẹni gíga, ẹ̀kọ́ ló ń gbé ní dépò ọlá. Ẹ dákun yé ẹ̀yin òbí wa, lẹ́bàá lówó kẹjọ kẹtọ́ wa. Ẹ dákun yé ẹ̀yin òbí wa, lẹ́bàá lówó kẹjọ kẹtọ́ wa.
At the Okoli Law Group, we specialize in producing justice. If you or a loved one in the Atlanta metro area is facing serious criminal charges, then you need serious legal representation.
The Okoli Law Group is here for you. The Okoli Law Group is here for us.
The Okoli Law Group, serious legal representation.
Peace, family. We are live again. Dynasty Mirror Search for Uhuru. Thank you all. Thank you so much for joining. It really means a lot. Thank you. On this rainy and stormy Monday afternoon here in Atlanta, looks like we're going to get some thunderstorms, but that's okay because we are still rolling. We are here. We show up every day. Hold on. Let me check my mic. Let me make sure I'm speaking to the right mic. And I wasn't. Now I am. Sorry about that. So we're getting some rain here in Atlanta, but we're still here. We are still here. We aren't going anywhere. So again, hit that like button, share, subscribe. Don't be afraid to super chat either. Again, don't be afraid to super chat our Cash App as well. Couple of announcements. Announcement number one, we are rolling to Nigeria August 4th to the 13th. August 4th to the 13th for the Oshun Festival. We are rolling to Nigeria August 4th to the 13th. If you'd like to come join us, please visit donafo.africa. I could probably, if you really want to come. Again, if you really want to come, I can squeeze you up in there. I can squeeze you up in there. So please visit donafo.africa. Again, please visit donafo.africa to learn more. We are also rolling to Benin Republic for the Voodoo Festival. That is January 3rd through the 12th. January 3rd through the 12th. We are rolling to Benin Republic for the Voodoo Festival. I need to update that on the site. Well, it's updated on the site, but I need to add, the videos. I like to do the videos. So the clips, the teasers, the trailers. There we go. The trailers for the trip. I need to add that to the site. So again, please visit donafo.africa. Please visit donafo.africa to learn more. We will love to have you all. Without further ado, today's topic, and I like to give this disclaimer. We're not going to agree on everything. We're not a monolith. I support differing viewpoints. Jay Sanders, you make a great point, and we'll get into that. Both parties have compromised against blacks many times. You're right. You're right. I'm for diversity of thought. We're not going to agree on everything. When I put that link in the chat room, you're more than welcome to call in. If you disagree, hey, you have the platform to voice your opinion or how you disagree. You could be Democrat, Republican, APC, SLPP, PDP, Liberal Party, Green Party. You don't even have to vote at all. You're like, listen, Diners, I'm team. I'm voting for the couch. Hey, that's your right. We still good. We are still good. But today's topic, I wanted to speak on. I voted for Trump in 2020, and I'm going to vote for Trump again in 2024. And of course, people, they'll bring up, how can you be a Pan-African? How can you, do this in Africa, do that for African, and vote Republican? So I'm like, well, your favorite Pan-Africans, Martin Delany, Booker T. Washington, I believe W. Du Bois. Well, I don't know. Well, let me say this. Let me paint a broader, use a broader brush. Your favorite Pan-Africans were all engaged in U.S. politics. Martin Delany was a Republican. I think when he ran for office or Senate, I forgot. He ran as a Democrat as well. Booker T. Washington was a Republican. W. Du Bois was involved in U.S. politics. So there are a number of Pan-Africans who set the foundation of Pan-Africanism who were involved in politics. So I don't understand, like, what's the problem? Like, how can you be less Pan-African just because you vote Republican? And then my question is, the Pan-Africans are voting for Sleepy Joe Biden. Are they still Are they less Pan-African as well? So, those are like some of the questions that I have. Make it make sense. It's like a lot of times with Pan-Africanism, people are moving the goalposts to fit their agenda. But for some reason, the majority of Pan-Africans, even though it's proven that it has failed, they don't want to get rid of socialism, communism, Marxism, whatever you want to call it, even though it's proven that it's failed. They don't want to completely give that up. They want to hold on to that. Guys, this party switch, and there's two sides to the story of this party switch. And I've heard, thank you, if you can be a Marxist Pan-Africanist, you can be a conservative Pan-Africanist. I agree. Frenchie, is the shirt available on my website? Hold on, let me look. If not, I need to put it on there. Hold on. I don't think it is yet. Yeah, it's not on here. I need to tell my web guy to add. He hasn't added this to the site yet. No, hold on. Home, ready to wear. Yeah, it's not on here yet. It's not on here yet. I need to tell him to add it. Thank you for reminding me. Disto Latin American. Go ahead.
Pura vida, how you doing?
Buenos días.
Buenos días, buenas tardes, de hecho.
¿Cómo está?
Hey, Joaquin, pura vida. A little bit of free time, lots to work, but thankfully the rains have gone down, but we're still getting the 19th tropical storm hitting us in the next few days, and there's a 20th tropical storm already forming. So more rain, more flooding, more problems. But anyhow.
Yeah, go ahead. Yes, sir.
What do you understand by the meaning of Republican as a general term?
Well, we don't have to get caught up in, I guess, the terms. It's just, again, like I was saying, to keep it simple. Okay. That there were a few Pan-Africans who, when you're talking Pan-Africanism, that Pan-Africans looked up to, that who were Republicans.
What interests me in that sense, there's no doubt that I have an ample criticism in regards to the misconceptions of Anglo-speaking world in matters of what is Republican, what is democracy, what those terms actually imply and inherently have signified in its praxis in the last 200 to 248 years. Here, especially, you know, when I speak on someone like Pan African, and then I can associate it with the last 200 years of trying to make a Pan American association type of thing that has been happening a lot. You know, for me, the idea of Pan African or Pan American basically means we are from we're from a region of the world that consists of different ethnicities and cultures and, well, nationalities that are very near to each other or very close to each other, that have grades of influence between each other, in political, economical, social aspects in that way. So from that sense, if we look at how modernity is working today, nowadays, for example, me as somebody who is in a sense has worked in his adult life towards fulfilling this idea of Pan Americanism and continuing the works of those who came before me. If you want to ask what's your political stance, well, I'm a Republican Democrat, liberal to the Latin American way, which means we stand for democracy, for the modern
Hey,
project.
real quick, this though, so we're talking more, Pan Africans who were Republican. If you could kind of shift back to the topic.
Well, that's interesting. You're referring to the Pan Africans that migrated to the United States mainly, and who integrated themselves into society.
Well, yeah, well, Pan Africans who were here in America, the Martin Delaney, Booker T. Washington, who were born and raised here in America, who believed in the African global community, how Black people of African descent should unite. Yes.
And just to ask, what you're referring to is that they were all Republicans in ideology or Republicans in a
I didn't say
way?
all. I didn't say all, but they were definitely Republican.
Okay. Those who were identified with a Republican tack, were they? And yes, this is somewhat of a rhetorical question, but were they ideologically Republican or partisan
Asking questions on
Republican?
a topic, but you get up here and you ask questions on a topic and then try to explain what a black conservative is or Republican is. That is interesting. It's like you don't even know why. It's like you're asking questions on a topic you know nothing about, but you jumped on to try to tell us this is not the case.
No, T. Actually, my intention is to go delve deeper into the subject of republicanism, but I understand that the direction Prince wants to.
Booker T. Washington was a Republican. Martin Delaney was a Republican.
Okay. So, in what concepts of republicanism was Booker T more aligned with? What perceptions of republicanism, of what was conceived as republicanism or modern republicanism, that was attached, or are we just referring to more a partisan type of approach?
I believe they're more conservative as far as the conservative ideology, as far as belief in God, belief in family, taking care of one's own. Because if you look at the Republican Party and what it stands for, the Republican Party is mainly take care of each other first, take care of your family first. Meaning, we're not looking out for the interests of everyone else. We're looking out for the interests of our own. So when you look at an African's perspective, their perspective is what is in the best interest for black people first before we out here talking about what is in the best interest for whoever other race. And yes, back in those days, yes, I totally agree. I believe this is why they were mostly Republican, because um, the Republican Party, the conservative platform was like that. It was more of We need to take care of our own first. We need to take care of our own families before looking out for everyone else. If you look at the liberal platform seems to be we need to take care of everybody. Don't who cares what happens to our economic issues? They don't care about the family structure. If you look at what Democrats talk about with the family structure today, it's non-existent. What the family structure is to a Democrat is probably two women and a child, or two men and a child. They don't make no distinction or point out any differences between a man, a woman, and a child, or an LGBT relationship. And that is the biggest distinction. So yeah, I can see why the black Pan Africanists would not go over to the other side because they're seeing that this does not benefit the black community and their own family structures at home.
Areas with chances for development, just not right now.
Kala, you got to turn off the playback, Kala.
Okay, hold up. I don't have a playback.
Well, there's a radio or TV on in the background.
Okay, yeah, it's a TV. I'm sitting in a lounge somewhere. I'm just gonna make this brief, Dennis. The reason why back then black people were Republican is the Republicans stood for institutions. You know, the Republicans are part of institutions, the Constitution, and things that the people may not like. You know, and it's not about populism. The Democratic Party was about populism. Populism means if you want to own slaves, go right ahead and do it. If you want to basically ignore slavery, go ahead and do it. Republican means no, this is a country of laws. It's a country of people and institutions and everything. And black people bought into that, you know, that we took our faith and believed in the system. Okay, it'll benefit us. But right now, what you have is black people in the '60s start saying, "Well, maybe we could ride the populist wave." What was on the populist wave? Anti-war, you know, all this other stuff, LGBTQ, and all stuff like this, and that's killed the black community. Most black people who are black nationalists like institutions. You know, that's they feel like they can get it further. Where it's the Garvey always praised the United States government as it was. You know, he didn't want to show like this. He said, "Look, that's where it was. This is where we can fit in. This is where we have and everything. As long as you have it in writing that we can. This is our place in America. These are our rights, and we know our rights. We like this. We'll concentrate on building our own families, our own institutions, and everything like that, and there will be the peace." But the Democratic Party, the Populist Party, is like, okay, there is no race. We also all come together as Americans and all stuff like this. But the bottom line is the majority of white people are still populist. You know, they were still populist. In other words, what's popular is what's going to go. And black people understand populist means mob rule. You know, and one thing black people feared was mob rule. If the mob gets a hold to the police, the courts, the juries, and stuff like that, black people are like this. The reason why they oppose the Republicans is because Republicans are always like, if you're gonna try a man, give him a trial. The Democratic Party be like, look, you know, for the most part, you know, if you want to lynch a man, whatever, frontier justice and all such stuff like this. And black people didn't vibe with that. That's why we were Republicans for the most part. We felt safe in that party because the party is the one who brought down the Confederacy.
But I agree. And also, what we have to understand is the illusion of what's going on with black people as far as when it comes to liberals, because black people really own nothing. Like if you look at the NAACP, for example, that was not started by black people. That was started by a bunch of small hats, and then they put a black face on it, W.E.B. Du Bois. And you know what's interesting about this, because we are talking about Marcus Garvey and we're talking about, Democrats and Republicans. You can understand why the black Pan Africanists were part
No.
of the back.
More Martin Delaney and Booker T. Washington. I don't think Marcus Garvey was involved in politics really here in America.
And he was, but Dinas, he was.
He
He
was
was
okay.
basically like when he came here, he was basically like, you know, you guys are wasting your time in America trying to change America's political system. He says all you can ask for is basic rights in America and also the right to leave if you want to. Build your own nation in Africa. That's what Garvey said, you know, and that was denied to black people. A safe streets. He said basic human rights. Garvey was talking about basic human rights. He said if you're gonna have a segregated train, And when we sit there on that, white men should not be drunk and coming there molesting our women, coming to our section of the train and
And
molesting
you
our
know,
women and stuff like that. So he was very
you
much
know, W. E.
involved
Du
with
Bois.
American politics.
And essentially, W.E. Du Bois was attacking him, saying that he's a black separationist. And this is the guy, like I said, like we had our black liberals through those times where they were like, we got to integrate into white society. But once again, by doing that, white people control it. Like nothing is controlled by black people. Not the NAACP, not the what is that? The Urban League, not none of our media, Breakfast Club, none of these popular urban. Nothing is controlled by black people. The Root is not controlled by black people. Essence magazine is probably owned by some white company. BET, this is, and I believe the people who came before us saw this, and I believe this is why most of us were Republican because Trump was not alive during that time, but we look at the Trump statement as far as make America great again, we got to take care of our own populist stance. That that message right there is a message that is designed to help your people first. Make sure your people got it before you look outwards. And yes, they understood that concept, which is why they could not be Democrats.
All right, we win. Go ahead, we winning. Go ahead, we winning. I'll pass it back to Latin American political analyst. Go ahead, we winning.
What's going on, everybody?
You gotta turn off the TV in the background.
All right, so start. Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, so when it comes to everything, I think it was either J.D. Vance himself. It was either J.D. Vance or Matt Gaetz, but it was somebody that was in the Republican Party that was pretty much exposing the fact that most of these Democrats be the main ones that be siding with these coups, main ones that have their involvement when it comes to a lot of the situation that we see on the continent, when it comes to conflict diamonds, when it comes to snatching resources. The whole establishment has it where on the Republican side, they wanted to get the oil from, I believe, West Africa, Guinea-Bissau, that locations, take the resources, ExxonMobil, let them run amok. While the Democrats on the other side, they want to be able to do the coup busting, the death of Gaddafi. And that's crazy, Prince. You had a video 3 years ago, and you was questioning some of the leaders on why you supported Hillary Clinton, even though that the death of Gaddafi.
Yeah, and I got
present.
attacked, and I got attacked for it.
Insanity.
Well, brother,
I'm
we just can't let Trump get in office. We just can't let Trump get in office. Well, goddamn, she was laughing when an African leader was assassinated. Go ahead.
Yeah, and that's insanity. That is complete insanity. That just shows you that people are bought and paid for it, man. But the DNC, they mostly have their hands when it comes to the continent, man. At least with the faction that Trump has in his party, he doesn't want no involvement with the continent. Rather, no involvement than let's get involved. Let's do this fake aid, and we're doing all this this bullshit. And the funniest part about it is people in the continent was pushing back on the Biden agenda. Hell, Uganda didn't want to take on none of this shit. Ghana. The funniest part about it is it seemed like people in the continent would be more Republican if they came across these West Coast far left liberals, because they're traditionally conservative. Hell, they have their culture. But I'm done.
Yeah, they definitely would be. This though, Latin America, go ahead.
Yeah, I've been hearing this, and how to phrase this. If you look at Devois, for example, matter of fact, is Devois separated from the NAACP? What was it? Early 60s. After he had been part of becoming that founding sense of the NCAAP. He also joined the Communist Party. His reef with Booker T. Washington was mainly an ideological one. Well, if we look at Malcolm X, that's that weird combination between Black nationalism and Islamic perspective. Martin Luther King, I would define him more as a social democrat in his basis. The explanation the prior speaking was giving about what republicanism is it's just, I'll be very sincere. It's a modern misconception of what republicanism is, as an ideology that refers to the organization of people based on the cosa publica, as the Romans would say, or the res publica, as the Romans would say. Um, Marcus Garvey, a Jamaican who migrated to United States, um, he was more inclined into being very similar to Dubois. I would call him more a social liberal or a socialist liberal in that sense of the perspectives that were being dealt. Now, do I consider the majority of leaders that emanated in the first 60 years of the turn of last century as people who were more inclined to uphold republicanism as a necessary tool of freedom and pushing against the apartheid state that was established after the Civil War for that 100-year period? Yes. Majority, I would have no doubt after I've read and investigated and talked with people who were close to them, that the majority were inclined to continue the project of republicanism both in the United States and outside, and the influence that was starting to happen in the 40s, 50s, 60s, late 40s, 50s, and 60s in Africa that then fueled many processes of independence in the majority of Africa. However, it's difficult for me to confabulate republicanism with conservatism. Those two things do not associate each other. Only in the United States do we see that weird amalgamation of concepts that don't go together in many ways. Um, However, I wouldn't deny it. With this, I conclude. I'm sorry. I'm passionate about this, and if you give me a chance, I would go for the etymology. I would go for a whole major class in what does Republican and all these terms mean. But just to conclude, um, I consider that modern day in the United States part of Afro descendancy versus what has happened in Latin America is that there's a more clear division in regards of the experiences of black communities in the United States, in regards that a lot of them have inclined into this modern day concept of more liberal stances, not necessarily left, but just liberal, versus those who have inclined themselves into more conservative. Therefore, those concepts of Republican and Democrat are invalid in many ways to analyze furthermore, versus what happened in America, which you have that division, but most of us have inclined into a Latin American liberalism approach. Very few are conservative in that sense.
And somebody in the chat says that we act like we didn't know that. Yeah, Harry Truman did desegregate it, but the Dixiecrats gave him the most pushback. Actually, it was very contested when it came to Truman's decision of desegregating the military in '48, because they still say that it was very bold and controversial. Because this is 1948, so the Dixiecrats was even harder. That means you had Lester Maddox. Lester Maddox chased a black man with an ox. So that just shows you that we bang with the Democrats tough. We Even if we do bang on both sides, we still got to mention about, but they still did this though. Same thing when it came to the civil rights bill with Lyndon Baines Johnson, man. Actually, it was 82% Democrats that voted for it and 87% of Republicans that voted for it in larger spread. So yeah, there was Democrats that did it, but a lot of the Dixiecrats, they still stayed in the 80s. Oh, George Wallace stayed. Strom Thurmond, he stayed. Trent Lott, he died as a Democrat and he was the biggest segregationist. Trent Lott was the dude that said that if we let the niggas neighborhood go in the shit, the white neighborhood's gonna go to the shit. He was the one that literally said that quote. But I'm done, Dynasty.
Okay, guys, links in the chat room. If you want to call in after the conversation,
I want the dudes to come up, man.
well, you know, the majority of people that talk, the majority of people
I
that
want
talk.
Miller to come up. I want Bazi Yaman to come up, and I want anybody that claims that themselves to be Pan Africanist, but still want to side with liberal policies that know that they can't bang with in the continent. They need to come up.
Yeah, but you know, the majority of people in the chat room that talk to most, they're not. You know, they don't come on.
They need to come up, bro.
Yeah, but link is in the chat room. Link is in the chat room.
The funniest part about it is Africans that is mad about Trump, but still keep their culture. They come to America, and these white liberals find out, oh, they're gonna call them a whole bunch of Trumpers, uh, xenophobes, everything.
You did mention something interesting, and it's something very related to me in many ways. Look, I migrated to the United States when I was 9 years old. By that time, 9 years old, I had already lived in 5 different countries in Latin America: Costa Rica, Venezuela, Colombia, Mexico. And by the time I arrived to the United States, I had periods of 4 years on each country. As somebody who had to move a lot, I know what is the difference between adapting oneself to the culture you're arriving to versus the dangers of assimilation in many ways. My father and my mother made sure that I never had to assimilate and lose my culture and my heritage because I was arriving to a different country. So we always kept that balance between adaptation and assimilation. Um, what's interesting is if we take this concept back and apply it to what was happening here during the process, the invasion of the Europeans, the slaves that were here didn't have that opportunity. They either had to assimilate or die, and that lost many of the cultures that were brought. But the interesting part about a forced assimilation of that nature is that culture culture just mixes with other concepts and then creates something new. And that's why we have a lot of the elements of African descendancy in our foods in Latin America and North America, in the Caribbean. The music has a lot of elements of African descendancy, etc. And I can continue on. So, taking that into consideration, and just to conclude, I'm sorry, I know I talk too much sometimes. I would consider that one of the major influences that we saw in the process of independence in Africa was the almost 200 or 160, 180 years of independence here in the Western Hemisphere, and how that influence of those who were starting to migrate, especially after the Liberia situation, to Africa, influenced into those patterns.
Okay, cool, guys. Hit the like button again. Please hit that like button. Also, make sure you share and make sure you subscribe. Listen, if no one else is going to call in, we'll go ahead and start closing out. We win. Anything else you want to share in closing?
Yeah, man. I think it's kind of funny how Democrats actually control the black image, where black people feel like they're universally tied to this party that clearly left them. And the thing is, clearly stabbing in the back, no matter if it's domestically, with high murder rate, high unemployment, job resources going all over the place, public resources going to people that just literally came to this country, or to situations from the continent where the bombing, killing, assassinations, coups, suppressing the economies. It's absolutely ridiculous because people that say that they're neutral, I like the fact that they can bang on both sides. But people that obviously want to say, well, what about the Repubs or Democrats, they would win and did this first. Dynasty, it's nuts, bro. It's nuts, man. You
All
know,
right,
and
go
you
ahead.
got people like Richard Russell Jr., bro. Richard Russell Jr. Was in your state. And he stayed a Democrat as a Dixiecrat, man. But I'm done.
Okay, go ahead, T.
Hey man, and I know Malcolm X would not be considered to be a Pan Africanist, but I was just piggybacking off what the
No, no,
last
no,
brother
no,
said.
no,
Like,
no. Later on in his when he left the NOI, he definitely would have been considered a Pan African. In fact, Malcolm X is a Pan African.
okay, cool. And the reason I'm saying that is because what the previous brother said, how the Democrats left us. Um, this is the reason why a lot of prominent black men were conservative Pan Africanists, because you have to understand, once you join this platform, they start introducing things that doesn't do anything positive or anything beneficial towards your people at all. And like the previous brother said, like, the pushing like LGBT on your people, pushing feminism on your people, introducing a bunch of immigrants into your community, pushing drugs, pushing a welfare system. None of this stuff benefits black people. So when you join the Democrat or the Democrat, liberal, whatever you want to call it, you are pushing other agendas, and this is why the Congressional Black Caucus has been such a failure to black people, and black people don't even know who they are, half of their names, what they stand for, because they have no policy specifically that benefit black people. They have the same talking points about voter suppression, as if black folks are having a hard time to vote. I don't know any African American in this country that complains about how hard it is to vote. Not one. But they keep these stupid wedge issues. We gotta stop the conservatives from from stopping us to vote. And this is why you have to separate from these people. This is why you have to have your own black agenda. And you can't have that as a Democrat. You just can't. They don't allow it. And for them to even give you money, you have to hit these certain agendas. I mean, you can even look at black entertainment media, the movies that are coming out in the black community. Most of the times you see is they probably got some LGBT man, they got some overly masculinized woman. The black family's probably in shatters. Is probably talking about some hood stuff, just things that are detrimental to black people. And then black people ask the question, well, why do they keep putting all these negative images out of black people? Well, that's because we're not in control of it. It is another racial group. It's someone else that's in control of it, but they're hiring black faces on it. So yeah, if black people understood this and understood what the Democrats are doing, and then look at our ancestors and why they were Pan Africanists and why they were mostly conservative Republican, it will change their mindset. But until then, they're going to keep complaining about the same issues for the next 50 to 100 years, being confused, attacking the very people who set up a blueprint to help them.
If I may, just to give a conclusion, I do disagree entirely with what T was saying. Because we have to accept that bipartisan model of politics in the United States has been detrimental to the black people. Both Republicans and Democrats have been constantly and systematically affecting the evolution of black communities as such. One major example of a bipartisan model that T mentioned is the war on drugs and how it has impacted not only African United States areas, but throughout the whole continent. There's sufficient proof of that, and it's one of the major factors that pushes and makes the migration situation more aggravated than it should be. On the second aspect, um, what I would encourage for people is to start abandoning that model of bipartisan thinking. Forget about the political parties, and yes, take the elements of great leaders that in the United States have had, as well as look into Latin America and how we have dealt with those problems in our communities, and start developing ways to break that two-way minded set. This isn't a question of the badly called political parties, Republican, Democrats, Grand Old Party, and the Democrats. Yes, we all know the history. We know that the particular history of the United States, particularly um, after independence, within the 90 years after independence, how they did not abolish slavery like other areas here in this continent did throughout the independence. That in those 90 years they went to a civil war. That civil war then created the conditions of an apartheid state that lasted for 100 years. That was just recently in the last 60 virtually taken down. But then in that same period of time frame, boom, the war on drugs was established by the Nixon administration, which made the difficulty of trying to evolve from a Jim Crow segregationist apartheid state condition even more difficult. So, in very short and concise way, Prince, I would like to suggest, and I'll put it on the table. If you, I'll write you my email. Perhaps we could have a more in-depth conversation about the meanings of Republican, Democrat, how those terms have been twisted in the political scenario of the United States, what and how they are applied, and go from a historical, sociological, and modern take on that to analyze furthermore, and we can just focus ourselves here in the Western Hemisphere, here in this area. For that conversation, for the sake of that conversation, we're not going to bring up Africa. We're not going to bring up any other area of the world. Just us, just this area, and perhaps that would help people have a more broader perspective. But it's a proposal. I'll put you on the table. It's your show, and I respect it. And I thank you for having me. I'll leave you my email, and if you're interested, just shoot me an email.
Okay, no problem. Guys, links in the chat room. If you want to call in, please click on the link. If you're in the chat room, please click on the link if you want to add to the conversation. Go ahead, T.
Yeah, I just have responded did so because I respect I get it. If I was a Latino or from Latin America, I would definitely look out for my own people's interests. But I don't see how this "we are the world" mentality helps Black people at all. We've always
It
been
doesn't.
using our struggle to help other people, and in respect to Don, it's like I like different opinions. So I'm not gonna be on here and say anything. So it's actually good. But it's interesting when you see people come on who are not originally from America say, we need to open up our hearts and, don't worry about these issues that are, helping other people while ignoring Black people. It's just kind of odd that we're always told that, okay, if we're an alliance, when are Black people going to benefit? Because I'm at the point where if it don't benefit me, I'm not going to support it. And I don't think the prior Black conservative Republican ancestors that we mentioned earlier would be pro all these other things except Black people. You know what I'm saying? Like we have to have a benefit. If we're going to be just ignoring our issues, tell us the benefit for ignoring our issues. Tell me the benefit for me to care about same-sex marriage. How does that help the Black family? 76% of Black people are born with a single mother without no father, and look at the condition of the Black community. Why are we pushing LGBT rights and feminist rights of Black people, seeing the disparity in our family structure? So if people are not going to tell us the difference and tell us the benefit and tell us beware of these conservatives. And when you look at the conservative platform, they are talking about family and God. That benefits Black people. Like it does. I'm sorry, Black people, we got to be selfish, and I get other racial groups, but man, if y'all did something collectively that benefited us, meaning if y'all coming in our communities, opening businesses, fine, but then you ain't hiring nobody Black. You know what I'm saying? And part of it is Black folks' fault for even letting that happen, but you can go to a hood and you can see a Louisiana fried chicken. You say Asian at the counter, bringing up your order. You look in the kitchen, there's a bunch of Latinos making the chicken, and we're in a predominantly black neighborhood. So I don't see the I don't see the unity there. You
I
know what I'm
wanna
saying?
I
So
wanna
yeah.
say something real quickly. I'm sorry, T, but I can't leave this uncontested. One, I'm born in Central America. The concept of only exclusively talking about blackness of that community within the United States as only an exclusive, only one American is ahistorical, is absurd, and it clearly shows that there is a problem of xenophobia within elements of black community in the United States. Fact. The majority of slaves were not delivered into what is currently modern day United States. The majority of those slaves were deposited between Mexico, Caribbean, Central America, and South America, being major hubs, places like Jamaica, of Black Americanists, like Trinidad Tobago, Barbados, Colombia, Venezuela, Guyanas, Suriname, Brazil, um, partly Ecuador, Panama, Costa Rica, and then go up all the north. So this concept that is driven by some in the United States of that terminology of Black American as only and exclusively and uniquely for the population of the United States is ahistorical, and it's to say like this, it's like shooting yourselves on the foot because you then are responding to an imperialist perspective that has attempted systematically and constantly against black communities, not just your community in the United States, but all the black American community throughout the whole continent. That being said, I think that the major point of conversation is that just what happened in Georgia almost 2 months ago, where Afro Colombians met with Afro US citizens in Georgia and sat down and talked about the experiences, etc., and enabled the possibility. So, T, I'm going to kindly ask you, take that cassette out and put the Pan American cassette in and start realizing how ample this reality in the Western Hemisphere is. And that the United States.
So can I ask a question? How are the black populations in like Mexico, Brazil, Colombia? How are they treated?
Great
Uh,
question.
yes. So each of the countries have had various stages of systematic racism.
If I can interject one more time, I mean,
Yeah.
in countries like
So
Argentina,
okay.
the black population was completely
So
wiped.
for the sake, no, they were not completely wiped out. That is a
Oh, there goes.
myth.
They were wiped out. That's well documented.
No, they were almost wiped out, but a lot of the communities that survived, especially in the north of Argentina, in fact,
But
they are neighborhoods.
there was literally a plan to whiten uh, the white population of Argentina. Like that's documented.
Yeah, but the plan failed. The plan failed, and
No,
and those
The
it
plan
populations.
failed.
succeeded. The
Go,
plan
No,
go
it
ahead.
didn't.
succeeded. The
Oh,
black
go ahead. Go
population
ahead.
is
Go ahead.
really nothing.
Actually, there is a community of Afro-Argentinians as.
Compared to Brazil, because
A
Brazil does
community.
not
However,
technically
however,
claim to be in the
hold on,
same.
hold
No,
on.
no, let me finish.
And
Let me
hold on,
finish.
hold on. But again, so in these Latin American communities, these people are treated like crap for the most part.
Yes, they are. That's
And these
exactly what I'm saying.
and people who treat them like crap as well or play a role in it are coming to America. So how do
And
you
bring the
think
same shit.
so how do you think that's gonna mix here in America? So go ahead.
And it's bringing the
Okay,
same stuff.
so the world. I'm going to answer this in this way. One, in order to know the experiences of each of the communities in regards of Afro, we can approach it in two ways. We can approach it individually in each of the nations, what the experiences have been, and then we can talk on a more macro level of Latin America, where we start seeing the patterns of similarity, of racism, of both internal and exported United States racism that has affected those communities. The current population of Afro descendancy in Latin America is 150 million by the estimates of 3 years ago of the World Bank. That is taking for example, Costa Rica has a population of 400,000. Nicaragua has about 250,000. Uh, Jamaica, Aruba, etc. The majority of population, anywhere between 65 to 70% of that population, is of Afro descendancy, either monoparental, two parents of black origin, or a mixed type of circumstance, and so on. We can then uh, show into the different impacts. For example, in Costa Rica, the Afro community was not allowed to come into San Jose, or the capital, until 49, 74 years ago. That the community of Afro descendancy in Costa Rica was forcefully taught English, standard English, and was not allowed to speak their Creole that they had constructed and made up. The situation of Argentina that you brought up, yes, uh, especially and particularly pre-independence, and then during the processes of post-independence, we did see and that racism, we saw it with the last president of Argentina, Alberto Fernandez, who said, well, the Mexicans come from the Indians, the Brazilians from the forest, but the Argentinians come from the boats. That type of statement is very real in Argentina. And in another time, I can bring up the different Afro organizations in Argentina, Uruguay, Paraguay, alongside with Brazil, that have been working to 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 deconstruct the situations of racism. And I mentioned something that was of the export of racism made in the United States via and through the war on drugs. Uh, that has also created impacts mainly in the indicators of violence in the black communities of Latin America, and the relation of organized crime with these communities that impact everything, every fiber of the social fiber. So, in this sense, the conversation is long. It has a lot of nuances, etc. So, in a very broad sense, what are the realities of Afro communities of 150 million people out of the 660 million people living in Latin America? It's difficult. We have had to live with the both internal and exported racism policies established. There are historical facts that have made circumstances, shall we say, a little bit more flexible, if we use that term. One of those historical facts is that the majority of Latin Americans, by the time they became independent, we abolished slavery. And that process of abolishing slavery alongside United Kingdom, um, it functioned as a factor that fueled your civil war 90 years after the independence of the United States. So fundamentally, there is a lot of conversation needed to happen, and unfortunately, the
Bro,
perspective of
You're just gonna
U.S.
keep on
centric.
going on and on and on. You keep
bro,
droning
bro,
on and
bro, bro.
on and
When
on.
I
Latinos come
try.
here, bro. Oh, go
You
ahead, go
keep
ahead, go ahead, go
droning
ahead, go
on
ahead,
I
and
go
on
tried
ahead.
to
and
give
droning
a
on and on.
concise answer, as
That
concise as
wasn't
I could.
concise. That was more than 5 minutes. Actually, you got most of the mic than really anybody on here. But okay.
Go ahead, we winning. Go ahead, we winning.
You got, yeah, I get it. You got people like the Dennis Chavez from New Mexico that sponsored civil rights, but when it came to that, he only sponsored civil rights when it came to Hispanics, not black and brown. And I get it; it's for his own people. But let's not act like there's black and brown coalition. It's a situation where they have their own shindig, and black people are supposed to have their own shindig. Now, commingling the scenario and knowing that if the black community does
One
this,
second, we're winning. Hey, this stuff, you have a lot of background noise. I don't know if it's a fan or what it is. It's very loud. But go ahead.
Yeah, it's a fan. I'll turn it off.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead, we winning.
like I said, black people going alongside with this is just black people let themselves being the Trojan horse, taking all the bows and arrows, while the Latino community can be able to get higher population census, meaning that they can get more grants and block lending. Harlem used to be just Harlem. Now it went from Harlem to Spanish Harlem, and it split it up where the funding locally was divided up, and they delineated. So when it came to that situation, that just helps Latinos. That's just literally black people just bending over and just allowing Latinos just to step over and make sure that their shoes is not wet. Now that's madness. When it comes to me, most people that's in my circle of friends, that when we do talk about politics, they are genuine when it comes to helping people that they know that are black. When it comes to lending out some money, making sure capital investment is going, getting some good contractors, but that's not the mainstream. Now, that's not the mainstream. It's literally a situation
And
where you're
also,
just sacrificing yourself.
and also, just to piggyback on you, you can tell Latinos look out for their best interests over black people because I know they hear
Every
the
time.
black folks in Chicago and New York upset about how the resources are being taken out of their communities and being transferred for illegals who don't even belong here. But guess what? They still come because they come to those communities because they say, "Wow, look at the city providing for our people. Damn the natives, we are getting our interests served." And then you look at some of the native Latinos, they're saying, no, we need to keep helping these people. These people come from depressed, starved lands. They're just trying to make a job. They don't care what the black population is saying. It's like a difference. And then what the liberal Latino tries to do is that they say, don't let the Republicans divide y'all and pit people of color against each other. BS. They're taking our resources. What are you talking about?
There was not
Black
unified at all.
Exactly. We're not unified. Are they trying to have
Not
a
in
sit down
mass.
meeting with black people? Or they say, you know what? We hear y'all. Okay, let's come to an understanding. Okay, y'all want reparations? Okay, fine. Let's try to make it to where y'all get taken care of first, because y'all were here first, and then work with us or so. I'm saying something like that, a compromise. But that's not the case. It's no. They're here. They're taking. They don't care what black folks say. And to be honest, I can't blame them because black folks are voting for the same party that's allowing it. They're not doing anything. So, I mean, I can't really blame the Latinos for doing what they're doing because they doing what black folks need to be doing
No, we're not
is
blaming
looking
them
out
at
for their
all.
own interests.
We're not blaming
Yeah,
nothing at all. We
yeah,
just
I
not going
can't.
along with it.
So
That's my
one
right
quick
there.
question, T.
That's my pain. That's my pain point on it.
It's
I'm
our
just not
fault,
going
bro.
along with it.
Two
I'm
two
just not going
points.
We
along with it.
allow it.
2 points here, real quickly. T. If the major problem in regards of irregular migration that is arriving to the United States, why isn't the Republicans and the Democrats attending the factors that are motivating the displacement of people, particularly of Latin America, but also included Chinese and Africans that are now mobilizing in the last 7 8 years? We've seen an exponential increment of that. To rewinding the concept of Hispanic, another day I'll tell you that's a fucking slur. I can explain why that word is a piece of shit. But there's no one in the Latin American community in the United States that could ever argument to me why the term Hispanic is applicable to us. That's another conversation. However, back to the point, T, riddle me this, because problem is not a Democrat only issue. It's a Republican Democrat bipartisan problem that has been ongoing at least in the last 60 years.
We know that.
Fueled,
We just said the
I would
black and
agree with you
brown
on that. Yeah,
initiative. We just said the black
exactly.
and brown initiative is just something that's non-existent. That's
so
literally like a one-sided transaction.
so
And we winning. You gonna have to respond to this because I gotta take an important phone call, man. So you got it, bro.
All right, go ahead.
That's my biggest thing. But go ahead. Go ahead.
no, I get it, but then the question is, why the hell would you vote for Donald Trump, who is just continuing the problem with outdated ideas, who has no fucking clue where he's standing? When he was president in the last 4 years, he did not do shit to mitigate the situations, even if we approached him. And the president prior to that, Obama, we approached him. And the president prior to that, we approached him. In fact, in the last 5 6 months, there has been 5 major high-level meetings in regards of migration in here in Latin America. And we're telling the Biden the exact same things we told Trump, we told Obama, we told Bush. And
Well, the
yet,
funniest part about it is when it came to 4 years ago, we didn't have this mass surge. So we had situations of both Title 42 and zero tolerance policies like ending catch and release. Now, when it
oh,
comes to the initiative that you're talking about, okay, I want to know what was the departments that was rejecting the calls when it came to immigration. And you can look it up, get your Googles ready. But when it comes to the scenario of him being willing to talk to the black community, hell, everybody that went up to Donald Trump was labeled a sellout for trying to get something from the administration. So you saying why would I vote? At least he was willing to talk. Joe Biden said what after the election. Somebody that does business, that doesn't make business sense. Okay,
so
I'm going to side with the person that's going to side after the election instead of talking to the person that wants to talk right now. That's the incumbent at the time.
so
So
in the 4 years
because
of Donald
I
Trump,
get it, I get it. We have our biases, but even people that are willing to at least talk to Trump, they are still voting Biden. Like people like John Hope Bryant is worth $800 million. He's going to vote for Biden, but if Donald Trump wins, he will negotiate with the Trump administration with his business partner Don Peebles, that's worth $5 billion, that's voting for Trump, that's willing to talk to Biden if Biden wins re-election. So when it comes to politics, the problem is one, you don't get the black bubble because Latin community in general, they talk to both sides. Like my homie Mateo, he's gonna vote for Donald Trump. I know most of the people that are from Mexico, Central America, they are more conservative. They lean more physically conservative and socially conservative. So, when it comes to your community, way more politically diverse. Even your president Joe Biden even said that the Hispanic community is more diverse
hold
than
on.
the black
Are you
community.
are
So when
you
it comes
talking
to the
about?
one-sidedness of politics, is a black community
Okay.
thing.
Have
That's
you
my draw the line of the sand.
have you met Latin Americans who are currently in our countries working our issues, etc.?
You got more of a problem of the establishment. Donald Trump has been in office for 4 years. More of the people that has a big
Hold
problem
on,
when it
hold
comes to
on.
that situation that you have issue with is the Bush administration, the Reagan administration, the Nixon
No,
administration,
we have an
and
issue
or
in.
the rest of the establishment people.
We have an
Because this
issue.
scenario has happened literally 40 years ago in the same time when we gave amnesty to people from Ecuador. We gave amnesty from people from Nicaragua. We, we literally done this on repeat 40 years ago.
Okay,
So when it comes
so
to the amnesty thing, there has been Republicans that gave amnesty to Latin Americans, which I strongly disagree, but it happened.
so first question: have you really talked to people who are working the politics here in each of our countries? Or are you just talking to migrants of Latin American heritage, but they are born in the United States more, and that they actually have no fucking clue what's going on here because they never step a foot here, some of them. And those who have stepped foot here, some of them are guided and blinded by the, let's just say, gringo way of doing politics, which is erroneous in many ways. Now, number two, we have issues way back, at least 200 years of issues with governments of the United States, either side of the aisle,
Yes,
etc.
the establishment. You're talking about the establishment. That when
Yeah,
you're talking about both
but
sides of the aisle, that's the establishment. I'm
but
with
we
you.
also we
We're
also do.
not disagreeing, but when you're saying both sides, that's the establishmentarian.
Some of us do not forget that it was civil, well organized militias that in the decade prior to your civil war came down to Mexico and Central America to try to invade us, led by William Wallace, paid by the Vanderbilts, that had nothing to do with the government itself. There were irregular militias coming down here, and we don't forget that,
Yeah, that's
even if it has
crazy
been
how you diverted a Pan
165
African
years.
panel. That is so crazy that you
I, I,
see. You diverted this whole thing. You slick. You smooth. You smooth. I give. I poured me a shot just right now, but you just smooth, slide smooth, just diverted the pan, and that's why I said it's one sided because you're gonna look out for your people all the time. But I got a question for you. What country? What nationality that your people's from. Most of my friends, they come from Nicaragua. Now those are cool people. We broke bread together. But
I'm one
what's
country
that?
south of Nicaragua, Costa
Mm,
Rica.
okay,
I'm
Costa
I'm
Rica.
right the south. I'm right south of Nicaragua. And in fact, Nicaragua, Costa Rica, Panama, are three of my countries that I spend most of the time traveling around and
Okay.
working issues here.
And see, I'm smart enough to know that there's nuance. Now, people from Costa Rica tend to be way more cooler than people that are per se Mexican. Mexican, they got La Raza, they don't deal with no mayates. So when it comes to that situation, I would say with you are way more liberal when it comes to the interactions of black people than I guess you would say the Mexicanos. So the Mexicanos, it's very clannish, very Ku Klux Klanish. We had
Well,
situations of firebombing in houses in East LA when black people dared to move in their neighborhood in Boyle Heights.
a
So
Mexican a
so
Mexican
there,
will,
there,
will
there,
tell you that
there's
I'm
there,
wrong.
there's history. There's history where it's a situation where there's been clashing where you probably are a person that work your job, take care of your family, go to work, go to home. You're not involved with no gang politics, no racial politics. You ain't you ain't took no
Well,
firebomb and launched into somebody that's
so
that's an innocent
actually,
black person.
Actually, to your surprise, last 25 years of my life as an adult, I have worked in implementing human rights, forcing our government to fix the shit that is wrong that affects the Afro Costa Rican communities as well as the indigenous communities. It What was it? 14 years ago. Yeah, 14 years ago, I came out saying we have to legalize weed. It took me a process of 12 years to get at least medicinal weed legalized through the Congress in Costa Rica. I was successful. I was done. Now we're uh, motivating projects of law that change drug policy here in my country as well as the other regions. I've had to fight alongside many Nicaraguans against the dictatorship of Daniel Ortega. I lived through the Hugo Chavez situation that happened back in '99. I know exactly, and I can give a master class in that. But here's the thing: you said I derailed this whole conversation, and I fear.
You didn't derail it. You just subverted to a scenario where it can fit
Oh,
you. Now I
when
do have a question for you. Now, are there people in your country that do recognize their African roots?
yes, over 400,000.
Now, 400,000. Now, what is the
Yeah,
population of your country, sir? Flat number.
five, almost 6 million right now.
So that's under 10%. So that's the eight
Yeah,
percentage. See, in Black America, there's 12.6% Black Americans. So there's even further less African population. Now, when it comes to the African population, do they have their own meetings, their groups?
yes.
Are there any
Look,
type of investment
the
mobilizing?
look,
That's just my question because when it
like
comes
I
to that
said,
situation, I just want to know.
had you
Give
heard
it to me
me?
raw.
How do you Had you heard me before? I already mentioned this.
Never heard
In
you
the
before.
total
This is
Latin
my first time.
American, no, in this conversation right now, I already said that in Latin America, the population of Afro descendancy is 150 million people in 33 nations. So just like in the United States, Afro communities are not living in one specific state, but they live throughout all 50 states. It's the same thing here. We live in different countries of this place we call America. This being said, I mentioned that, and I also mentioned
Mm.
how there are different groups of Afro leadership. Like, for example, what happened in Georgia, that you had a meeting just on March this year between Afro Colombians and Afro US citizens, talking about uh, the realities, etc., and also opening up lines of businesses. The problem is, and I'll say it again, it seems that for many in the United States, blackness is only applicable for those born in the United States, and it seems that that's the only blackness valid here in the Western Hemisphere. And that's when we come in and say, no, it isn't. It's one of an important community, but there are other communities of blackness because of how slavery happened here. Now, that being said, just to conclude, the conversation of Pan American and Pan African are very similar. I cannot talk about Pan Africanism because I'm not from Africa. I'm an Afro descendancy of slave combined with indigenous roots here in the Western Hemisphere. This is my reality. This is who I am.
And you don't want to be affiliated with Pan African.
No, no. I
Correct the
support
window.
Pan Africanism, but as I support Pan Africanism and I understand the history and the realities of the 54 countries currently in Africa, in the same way, my specialty is this area because this is where I'm from. I I can relate and I can speak on histories of Africa, etc. But I'm not African. I'm
Mm.
I'm somebody like you, born in the Western Hemisphere, born because of the heritage and the history that happened here for the past 600 years. So I don't understand this confusion you're having.
No
I might not.
confusion. It's not a confusion. I'm actually wondering, what topic, why this topic actually was the interest of you.
What?
That's what I was trying to figure out because one, this topic literally says your favorite Pan Africans were Republicans. If you're someone that say you're Afro descendancy, you say that you adjacently support Pan Africanism, but you are not Pan. I, I'm I'm just trying to figure out that you just want to just hop on a panel just to be hopping on a panel.
No, the conversation we kept it on the Pan African. I did mention at the starting that I have my conflicts with the significance, and I even made a particular comment that I talked about the war, how he moved to the Communist Party, Booker T. Washington, the conflict between those two, Malcolm
Sir, are you a
X.
communist? Sir, are you a communist?
No, I said it once in the chat, and I say it again here.
Do you believe in state run operations or private operations?
I believe in nothing, man. What I support is
What do
liberal.
you support? What do you support?
Okay, yes, simple. I support liberal Republican constitutions based on the modern application of what democracy is representative, um, with divided powers,
Yeah.
separation of state and church, etc.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
all those concepts. And ideologically, I'm a economic liberal as well as a social liberal. I consider that the that there needs to be grades of regulation done by that concept we call the state or the
Sir, you
government.
are a communist, sir. You are a
No,
social
no,
communist.
no. Hold on. Your conclusion is
You are a
false.
social communist. See, only why I asked that so I could be
No,
able to
no, no, no,
understand the
no. Hold on. I have
sir,
to answer
sir,
that.
sir,
I,
sir,
I don't
sir,
want
sir,
you're
sir.
assuming me,
What
sir.
you just said, like words got
Hold on.
definitions,
You
You said
interrupted me. Let me
democracy one.
conclude.
That was
Let me
one.
conclude.
I'll let you
So
conclude.
so again, like I said, I'm a liberal economic and liberal social. Liberal economy, I consider a that the minimal interaction of state with the private industry, it is in protection of the consumer because we know that enterprises will sacrifice the consumer for their profit, and that has been a historical fact. I also support strong labor codes that protect the worker as well. But
Mm.
apart from those two facts, I support the development of economic freedom as best possible, as long as we don't have a savage capitalism like in many things have happened. That
Okay, so I'm gonna ask you this now: if you was president, what would be the tax rate for business?
to avoid monopolies and duopolies, I would go for depending on the GDP of the areas that we're speaking. Um, it would go anywhere between 15 to 25%, depending on what country we're talking about. And
We're talking about good old United States, and I'll even give you the numbers to help you out. 21% corporate tax rate, the highest American. tax rate is around 37%. In 1979, the corporate tax rate was around
So
70%.
are
So,
you
are
are
you
you
in favor? Are you in favor of that corporate tax rate being from 21% back to 35, 40%?
with the with how economy and how corporations are winning a whole bunch of money, that could be a possibility. A quick question: are you in favor of corporations? Are you in favor of
Yeah,
not
yes, yeah,
taxing
yeah.
corporation? So you're in
Actually,
favor?
actually, yes. I'm actually gonna come out and forward with it. 'Cause I'm not gonna give you a big
Okay,
soliloquy. I'm gonna be cutting
so
short. I literally trade investments in stocks and options,
okay,
and my account was doing good. J.P. Morgan did well today,
so
and
let
Goldman
me let
Sachs.
me let me go back to what was it? Oh eight. Almost now 20 years ago. Well, in the next 4 years, it's going to be 16 years ago. Oh 08.
Yeah,
The
cause yeah,
economic crisis that
yes,
happened because of the housing situation, that was a crisis created by corporations, by private corporations, correct?
not lying. You're not lying.
Okay, in that line. So, quick question: do you agree that the corporation should have untethered power to lobby and manipulate the government and become like a shadow government, like a private shadow monarchy, controlling what governments and what official elected people do?
I'm hearing you. I'm hearing you. Keep going. Keep going.
Okay, do you agree with that?
When it comes to that, there's a shadow government, regardless if we did remove the monetary policy of the Federal Reserve. There's still a hidden hand because we're always going to have multimillionaires and billionaires. Even socialist communist countries got their big players
So,
because they work with the state.
so you would argue that regardless of anything, that the idea of private corporation is better than having a government. So we should let private companies run everything in our lives.
Now, when it comes to situation of that, see, you want to go macro. So when it comes to the corporate scenario, you can go after the corporations. The rhetoric sounds good. I'm against all of that. But when it comes to in practice and in general, the small players, the little people that you say that we're trying to help, we're going after the corporations. They get hit the largest because they take away tax deductions. Because even if you don't mess with the corporate rate, where if you say, well, we're not taxing people under 400,000, well, yes, they're not lowering or hiring your rates. They are essentially taking away deductions, sweeping across the board surrounding that rate. Now, if you're trying to go after corporations, a lot of the people that do talk the same scenario and rhetoric, they refuse to get rid of carried interest. So they refuse to touch anything that's capital gains. Now, you going after corporations, you busting it up, having a Federal Reserve. Now, do you believe in crypto? Do you believe in decentralized decentralized currency?
Again, I don't believe in anything, but what I see is
You're not giving me. Oh, come on, man. That
no,
is
no. What I'm
no.
going to answer on
That is a
that
great
is
cop
that
out. That is a
no,
great
no, no.
cop out.
Hold on, hold
But
on. Let me
not if
answer. Let
not
me
if you're
answer.
sharing
Let
not
me
if you're sharing
answer.
your screen.
My position in
Go ahead.
crypto is that it's not necessarily decentralized. Somebody has to control that particular crypto because of how it was created. And we saw that crisis
That that
happen
that
with
that, that
Bitcoin.
it depends on the actual crypto
It
coins.
Yes, I know. It depends on the actual coin. But we saw with the crisis of Bitcoin, what was it, almost a year ago, 2 years ago, where it pretty much almost went completely bust. And there's no denying that even if that concept of decentralized did not work as well as to protect the interest of those who had the Bitcoin. So I get what you're trying to go for, but let's not romanticize those concepts. Now,
But it didn't go bust.
it didn't go bust, but it was close. That doesn't mean that eventually in the future it cannot again happen. So we are under the modality of what best term can we use? The volatility of the fickleness of that Bitcoin. So we see that the concept of decentralization doesn't avoid crisis. Um,
Because Colombia has adopted cryptocurrencies. Other countries around your neck of the woods, they have adopted cryptocurrency. That's why I asked that question, because we talk the
along
anti-capitalism stuff, but not attacking
alongside
capital.
the adaptation of crypto has been alongside the currency that has been in the country. So it's not like they switched directly to uniquely crypto, but they enable the possibility of using crypto alongside the currency that it's on each country. So that is important to denote. Now, going back to the concept of corporations, do you agree with this? That Chiquitita brand was sentenced for reparations of $38 million because they provided weapons and ammunition and tools to the paramilitares or the paramilitary of Colombia who was fighting against the FARC, the communists there in Colombia. So do
It's
you
wrong.
agree?
I
It's
don't
wrong.
agree. I don't agree. That's cronyism. See, we're mixing two things. See, and I see the
So
play. I see the play. You're
no, no,
mixing
no. The question
capitalism
is,
with cronyism. That's cronyism. I don't
okay.
agree with cronyism. Cronyism is literally underworld economics.
So
I do
you
not
agree?
participate in underworld economics, no, nor narco terrorism or narco economics. No.
Okay. So that's interesting because if you are someone of liberal economy, and if you are more either anarcho-capitalist or a libertarian, you would agree that the underground market of drugs is a perfect example of a non-intervened market by any state. The only thing that it's not in that market is the incautation, but in the distribution, production, and sale, there is no involvement of the state whatsoever. And we've seen how that market has grown in the last 60 years. It's what worth 350 billion, $400 billion, something like that. And that market is ahead of any other so-called legal markets. Pretty much is kicking the ass of Amazon. It's kicking the ass of Tesla. It's kicking the ass of everybody.
I don't know about that. But when it comes to the situation at hand, even China, they mix capitalism, socialism. They managed to make a good influence of where the capitalism can provide the offense, the socialism can provide the necessary safety net.
Hey guys,
So
Now,
let me pass the mic to Free Game. Go ahead, Free Game.
yeah, sorry, we were
now when it
taking over
comes when it
this.
comes to that, man, you're a socialist. Go ahead, free game.
Go ahead, Free Game.
Nope, I'm not.
Yeah. Hey, what's up, y'all?
Hey,
What's going on, big dog? What's going on, big dog? You a commie?
Nah, I think we just should just. I think the U.S. government just should go ahead and colonize South America. Honestly, because
Oh dear God.
You already
uh,
tried it. We kicked your asses. So if you want to try it
man,
again, go ahead.
if
We'll
y'all,
kick your asses.
bro, America will run through y'all, bro. It won't even be a effort to do it. But
hey, free
but
Game. Free Game? Are you on speaker? Because it's like really like
Yeah.
echo and muffled.
hold on.
I'm just gonna remind you, William Walker, he was executed in Honduras. You guys, if people like your mentality, you know what?
But
We'll kick your
let me
asses
finish.
like
Let me
Vietnam
finish. Let me
kicked your
finish.
asses.
Let me finish. No, bro, y'all get slaughtered. But they can't handle their own affairs. They have to run to America for every single thing. Like when it's going to become a point where we have to take offense and go ahead and just what viable option do you have other than them sneaking into the country? How are you going to stop that when it's literally no border? They can just walk across.
That has
Like,
to be the most senseless comment I've heard today. We can handle
This
our
is
issues. Thank you
comic.
very
y'all
much.
can't handle your own affairs. Why are you coming
Yes,
to
we
America?
can. Yes, we can.
Why are you coming to
But
America?
look, You know what?
That's because the
I
cartels
asked you
pay
a
You
simple
know
for it,
you
question.
know
man.
what?
I asked you a
You know
simple
what?
question. Answer the
Free
question.
game. Yeah. Let's
Answer
let's
the
let's
question.
put it this way. Tell your governments, both Democrats
Oh
and
my God.
Republicans,
I
to
said,
stop intervening in our issues, to stop
why
imposing the
can't
war on drugs
Mexico,
through the United Nations.
Nicaragua?
No, okay, hold on, free game. You're talking so much shit that it shows how ignorant you are
Okay,
in
I'm
every
asking you a
sense of
simple
the
question.
word.
Answer the question.
So safe borders is
I
not the
already
truth.
answered the question. First, tell your governments to stop intervening into our issues. That way, our own problems we can try to fix without having to look at our back because the gringos want no communists or want no or want to continue the war on drugs because so many drugs are going to your country, or because they only want to impose their imperialist views in the rest of us. We can handle our shits. We've been independent for 200 years, as alongside the 248 years that United States has been independent. So you have no fucking clue what you're talking about because you cannot decipher the different problems that we have, how we've approached and resolved what we can resolve, and what other problems we are extremely hard to resolve because they are part of that influence and that direct interventionism in the United States. So fix your own country first.
What?
Stop
Okay,
voting
so
for the Republicans.
if
Fix
y'all
your
can
own
That is
country
fucking
first.
ironic. That is
if y'all can
fucking
fix your
ironic.
own problems, why are y'all running up China's ass right now?
That
What?
is fucking
China
that.
is helping Mexico right now. The whole area almost. Why is
Let
China?
me well, hold on, Dinus, if I can get in on this.
Go ahead, Kettle
Uh,
man, because we
yeah,
gonna go
yeah,
back and
and
forth forever, bro.
okay, but yeah, my thing is this: is that first off, as an American, as a Black American, I appreciate the contribution that Latin Americans have to the American culture. I grew up in California, so I grew up around a lot of Latin American culture. It was mainly
Three,
Mexican,
two,
but
three.
also I grew up around a lot of Guatemalans, around El Salvadorians, and stuff like that. I'm also
Nicaraguans.
familiar with like Cubans and other groups and stuff too. I think that there's nothing wrong with people coming into this country as long as they're willing to contribute to the country and participate in the society and in the economy and stuff, as long as they really want to be Americans, there's nothing wrong with that. But now, as far to address free game, it's saying that the United States government should colonize South
Yeah, that's
America.
crazy
I
talk.
think that's
That's crazy talk.
silly. I don't think
How is
anybody.
silly
I don't
when
think
they're trying to?
anybody is going to do
How is
that in the
silly?
modern era. And just like the gentleman
How is
said,
silly when they come
if
to
you do
our
that,
country?
if you antagonize them like that, they will fight back, and
Man,
they have the means.
they not gonna do it.
Bruh, can you let me
Bruh, you
finish?
interrupted
Can you let
me.
me
Let him
finish,
finish. Let him
bruh?
finish.
You
But
interrupted me. You
you let me
Cause that
finish.
that was because y'all was
They
you
will
arguing.
fight
interrupted
Y'all
back,
me.
y'all was
and
arguing.
they do have the means to to defend themselves. So, but one thing I will say, and I'm also I'm also a black conservative. So someone who's looking at it from like the conservative point of view. One of the South American countries that I think is doing really well, or that has made a turn for the best, is Argentina. They elected a man named Javier Milei, and he's actually a businessman. He's been a businessman for his whole life, and he's now the president of Argentina. But he has a very pro-American stance. He wants to work with the United States, and he actually wants to peg the Argentinian currency to the U.S. dollar. So that'll be huge, in terms of us, getting rid of the petrodollar and trying to find a way to replace that. That would be huge. And also, he's getting rid of like this bloated, bureaucracy that the Argentinian government has. We have all these useless government workers and stuff who they just collect a paycheck and they don't really contribute to the economy. So he's teaching Argentina how to be productive and how to make their money in a free market economy. And I think that's good. That's going to go a long way. But if whoever wants to respond, go ahead.
Yeah,
Well,
just
I
real
was about to
quickly.
ask him
Hold
if he
on,
Yeah,
wanted
There,
to
hold
hop
on,
in
go.
there.
hold on. So they can come to our country, bring drugs to the country via China, But we can't go to their country and do the same thing. We can't visit their country. Their country is high levels of violence in their country. They're sneaking into our country, taking our resources. So how is that not
But you're saying
colonization
you're
in some
saying to
form? How
colonize
is
though,
it not colonization by some form or fashion?
because
Freaking,
What's
we
going
don't agree
on
with
in
that. But you're saying
Chicago
to
is a
colonize, but at
miniature
what
form of
capacity can we do that, brother?
what
You got to live
what
in reality, man. At what
what
capacity can Black Americans can do that?
no, we not talking
freaking,
about black Americans. We talking about the U.S. government, and whites been saying
Because the
whites
U.S.
been saying
government
the same
one,
thing. Whites been saying the same thing. Why? And I'm not talking about the whole South America, of course,
U.S.
but
government already got their
I'm
foot
talking
in
about
South America,
Mexico
though.
in particular. Why can they stay in their country or come to America legally? What's going on in Chicago? That is a form of colonization. You come into somebody else's country, taking their resources, and you're not there legally, is colonization.
look,
Okay,
I
can I hop in
honestly,
there? Let me hop in there right
sure,
quick.
miss. I really wanted to answer them, but you haven't
Yeah.
spoken, so please do.
All right.
It's
Yeah.
crazy we're
Thanks for letting
giving
me.
out Argentina as the
Yeah.
case
Thanks for letting
study
me hop
because,
in there.
like Jay Sanders said, didn't Argentina breed out 90% of their black population? Jay Sanders, yes, they sure did. And Evita singing Argentina, but okay.
Yeah. So the thing
Yeah.
is,
They killed off most of their black population, so they don't give a damn about us. And
so in
so crying
regard,
about the resources in America, they don't give a damn.
so in regards to colonization to South America, is they were already colonized by the Spaniards and the Portuguese, and
Like I
they
said, they
got
already
their
done
freedom
this shit
from the
already.
Spaniards and the Portuguese in North America. Where we live, we were colonized by the British. So
Yeah,
as of right now, the peso or whatever form of currency that they utilize in South America just doesn't have the muscle and the weight that the United States dollar have or the pound that the British have in Europe and the Spaniards, the Portuguese and the Spanish in Europe don't have a strong dollar either. So they're always going to be sort of like behind us when it comes to the power of the
because he said pegging it to the dollar. I thought he was gonna say peg it to the gold standard
yeah.
because
Ho-
Zimbabwe
So
has
they're talking
benefited their
about
economy by pegging it
So
to
they're talking
gold.
about South America or countries in the South America joining BRICS, and that might help them improve the strength of their peso, what have you. But there's a whole lot of other issues that's going on, internationally about the global economy, particularly when you're talking about the United States, who still has the strongest dollar in the world or the strongest currency in the world. We have like a $30 trillion deficit, and the issue that we're having is how are we going to have our economy grow faster than the debt? And at the present time, our debt is growing much faster than the rate of our economy. So, but the Democrats or Biden is trying to say, okay, let's increase the taxation on the wealthy so that we can bring down the debt and balance the economy so that our dollar doesn't lose so much of its value and we don't have all of these issues with inflation because of the United States dollar having so many inflation issues has a domino effect globally because we have the most powerful currency in the world, and a lot of different countries are using our currency. So as long as our economy stays unstable, you know, the rest of the global economy is going to have issues with it. So it's an
We
issue
got to
of,
use
do you
better
want
case
the rich
studies,
people
people.
to pay off our debt, or do you want the poor or the middle class people to pay off the debt by raising our taxes? One way or the other, someone's taxes have to raise, or we have to find some type of a different type of economic infrastructure to make
No,
our
not just
economy
leverage your
boom again.
if you got any
So,
resources, Mister. Like when it comes to South America has a situation of cobalt that can be leveraged to be able to pay off debts or get lines of credit. And
okay.
you can work up your means of production, then you work up your trade deals, then you can negotiate with other countries, and
So,
you can back. Hey, I'm finished. I ain't done. I ain't done. Did so. You keep doing this,
go ahead.
like I said. if you can work the structure of leveraging what resources that you have, we all know that the global scenario is going green. If you have because South America does have the situation of cobalt, copper, they have good material that can be leveraged. Now that situation can be used. You can back your currency with gold, and you can figure out how to be able to leverage the corporation that's coming in to be able to set aside a scenario of business grants, loans, scholarships to the universities, and build the economy.
The problem with that is they're going to be trading their natural resources utilizing the American dollar,
Well, that's
or
why
they're
I
going to
said
have
you
to
didn't hear me. You
join
didn't hear me. I
BRICS.
said move your currency to gold, my friend. See, you missed out the key component. I literally said switching it over, where you're not pegged to the dollar, my friend.
Okay.
I'm not a person that say that tie it up to the dollar. That's the other guy.
And another issue that I wanted to bring up, and that's an interesting concept that you said to back it by the gold. If you have that amount of gold that you think could help boost up their peso, whatever they use as a
Because,
currency.
dude,
Another
Zimbabwe
issue,
literally
though,
got a
is
finance minister, Sandman, that literally got the job done within his first couple of months on the job. And that's literally only thing he had to do was just back the scenario with gold.
right. Well, the issue that with the American dollar,
Let
even though
me pass to Jonathan, because Jonathan's waiting. Go ahead, Jonathan. Unmute yourself, Jonathan.
I just wanted to say that I agree with the brother earlier when he said that the United States should colonize the South American countries. Now, that may sound hurtful, but at the end of the day, from what I've seen, all the countries that tend to ally heavily with the United States in some form or way, they tend to do better, whether they're in the Middle East, Asia, or South America. Chile is one of the United States' top allies. They're part of the visa free waiver program. They got a good GDP. They're not poor. Their poverty rate's like 4%. I mean, you ain't got nothing to lose. You coming to the United States anyway. Might as well just go ahead and join the damn country anyway. So that's all I wanted to say.
Okay, so let me intervene here right quickly. Several points. First, the ideas of Jonathan and Free Game, they are completely and utterly absurd. They showcase a either a wanting to troll just to troll because they can't converse in Free Game, which is my position in that sense. I think they're just trolling and throwing that out to gain a reaction in that sense. In matters of what Kettle said in regards of Javier Milei, look, this isn't the first time they've had that type of precedent in Argentina. I could go back to Carlos Menem in the 90s, who established very similar projects to what Milei is trying to do right now. In matters of how our currencies are either or not attached to the gold standard, it depends and it ranges from country to country, but there's no doubt that one of the major impacts of imperialism is the US dollar and that we have to abandon that. Free mentioned, how is it that your guys, Mexico, is doing with China? Well, I don't trust China as I don't trust the United States foreign policy or Russian or European, because we know that China is coming close to us, not only to try to impose their freaking A model of BS, but also to pressure the United States. But here's the thing. Many of our countries no longer trusting in the United States and knowing that the United States is an exploitative country have stupidly inclined themselves to China, or the issue with BRICS. I bet you, Free Game, you don't know what the hell BRICS means. What does it
Bro,
stand?
you contradicted yourself. First, you said you're a communist. Then you don't want
I
to
never said I
join.
was a communist.
You don't
That
want to
was
join the country that's the best
so. Free
country in the
Game,
world. You
you
don't
get
want to
you
join the
interrupt me.
country that y'all
Yeah,
run
I
into.
don't get it, bro. I don't get it. I don't get
No,
it.
no,
It's
no. The
You
reason
contradictory.
you
you
don't
It's
get it,
contradictory, man.
the,
You
the
got to
reason
pick a
you're not,
line.
no, hold on.
Because
We
either you
and
side
Free
with the
Game, the
West or
reason
you
you're
join.
not getting it is because I'm political analyst.
no, you're not. You just said you're a communist, and
I
then
never
you
said
talking
I'm a
about BRICS,
communist.
and then you talking
I
about
You
crypto.
I
said
You
never
you're
said
not
don't.
a
I was a
communist,
communist. I've already
but you won't
rejected.
join the West.
No. Hold on.
Then that means
The
you should join
West.
the East.
Hold on. That showcases me that you don't know what the hell you're talking about. Because if you're defining the West based on United States and Europe, it clearly shows me you're not where you're standing from. Second, the reclamation that I'm a communist is laughable. It's completely and utterly a lie. Do not interrupt me. I am not a communist. I have fought against those like Hugo Chavez, Daniel Ortega, etc. But I'm neither somebody who would support somebody like Milei, a conservative asshole whose only mindset is a anarchic capitalism, or somebody like Bukele. But the thing here is, I'm talking with people who evidently don't know where they're standing, and their only limited capacity of political analysis is what they live in the obtuse sense of the United States. Look, you said a free game. Oh, the best country in the world. Fuck that. I don't give a damn about best countries in the world. What I care is analyzing from the most objective point or standpoint how countries have developed through their processes of independence, their economic, their social, their political structures. And you're not that far away from us. One of your own people tried to kill Donald Trump. Even I hate Donald Trump, but I denounce that because that type of political violence only leads to worse situations. But the matter of fact is, one of your own citizens tried to kill that dictator wannabe. However, that's not far.
That's nothing special. That's nothing new.
That's not
Assassination's been happening.
I just find it interesting. Okay, let me ask you a question. What makes Donald Trump a dictator wannabe?
Yeah, man, you're supposed to be the analyst, sir.
Look,
You're supposed to be knowing all about dictatorship.
Yeah, I know all about dictatorship, and one of the things that clearly showed us that Trump was no different from Daniel Ortega or from Maduro or Chavez or Videla or Pinochet is the actions he took at January.
You
6th.
put the Dominican Republic president
Just a second.
as the category?
No.
That is crazy.
I got it. Hold on.
No, I never mentioned
You said Donald Trump is a dictator because of January 6th. But in those countries, those dictators lock up their political people or opposition, or they kill them. Donald Trump ain't done none of that. So how can you say he's like a dictator?
Hillary Clinton was not on house arrest. She didn't get targeted. So Jonathan is right.
No. The actions of rejecting the results of that January 6th election.
People challenge elections all the time.
Yeah, and he had over 60, 70 different court processes in all different aspects. Al Gore did also challenge. I remember that because I was alive also. But what did Al Gore do at the end? He accepted the result and said, "Well, I lost."
No, he didn't.
I got a question. If Donald Trump is not the president and he handed over power on the day that Joe Biden came in, is that not him accepting the results?
No, he never accepted the results. He did that.
Hell, Stacey Abrams.
Okay. Hold on. What, Mike? Yeah, Stacey Abrams did the same thing. But again, Joe Biden.
So how can you say you're the best country?
No, you're not going to talk over me. But Joe Biden was able. He was sworn in. So what do you mean that's not accepting power? Because if he was a dictator, he'd have said, "Fuck that, I'm not leaving."
So how can you say?
Or if he was a dictator, there would have been violence on the day that Joe Biden got sworn in. Not.
It happened on January 6th. That it failed.
Joe Biden didn't get sworn in on January 6th. So the day that Joe Biden was getting sworn in, that would have been him being a dictator.
The 20th.
Number one. Number one.
Mode.
How can you say
you're a bad political analysis?
Hold on. How can you say you're the best country in the world when that ex-president insulted everything that was held dear in regards to the transition of power? Not only that, he utilized his base to then attack the Capitol, attack Congress. Then he continued paddling the whole thing about the election being stolen. He had no other alternative than let Biden gain, be named in that sense. But for the past 4 years, he's been repeating the same bullshit, where we have seen similar individuals in Latin America do exactly the same thing. So you're not better than us. You're exactly like us.
Yeah, we just need to know I'm colonizing. Yeah.
The position of telling you that Trump is a dictator wannabe is because of his actions. And there's no doubt in my mind that Trump is to the United States what Hugo Chavez was to Venezuela, what Videla was to Argentina, what Pinochet was to Chile, etc. But again, it seems that I'm just throwing those words on the air because you guys have no fucking clue of who I'm mentioning. Hell, I never mentioned the Dominican Republican president, and yet somewhere we thought that I mentioned him. No, I never mentioned
Well, that's
that
the name of the title,
particular.
sir. That's the title, sir. That is the
The
title. That
problem
is literally
is
the title.
you're saying all of these other presidents who actually killed their opposition or imprisoned them. Donald Trump didn't do none of that. So what you're saying
Yeah,
doesn't hold no damn weight.
Because he didn't have the
yeah,
Oh no,
opportunity to
wait.
do so.
He got
yeah,
shot.
absolutely.
He
And
had
the
crazy.
fact, here's the
Got
thing:
shot
the
at.
stuff that you're saying, man, is is totally nonsensical. Calling Donald, there's no basis at all for Donald Trump being a dictator. When he was in office, he didn't try to increase his power. He didn't try to do anything to supersede the United States Constitution to increase his power. So, like I said, the stuff that you're saying, it just doesn't make sense. But and another thing, you have this mindset that, I mean, I understand you say you're a communist and stuff like that,
Again, I'm not a
but you
communist.
don't like Melee. You say Melee is a conservative asshole and all that type of thing. Okay, so we know, that's enough for us to know, politically, what your mindset is and where you
Nope.
stand. But I would ask you this. I would ask you, show me in South America where communism is successful, because we've seen it in countries like Cuba. Okay, and it was just Castro coming into power in Cuba was a disaster. Okay, he's had thousands of his people, Cubans, have left that island from the 20th century all the way up till now, to get away from the communistic regime in Cuba, that only all it created was poverty and lack of upward mobility for the Cuban people. And it's kind of sad because the Cubans are very intelligent, smart people. And then when a lot of them come here to the United States, they end up doing really, really well. So I kind of feel sad I've always felt bad for the Cubans, because I felt like they just were a victim of basically, the events of the Cold War, that their country got taken over by communism. And then a lot of them were forced to flee their country, and the whole type of thing. So how do you address that? How do you address the fact that Cuba is dirt poor and thousands of their citizens have to come to the United States to build a better life? How do you address that?
Well, first of all, I'm not a communist. Therefore, you would have to ask somebody who supports communism in Latin America to see if you get that gotcha question in that sense. Second of all, it clearly shows to us that one of the major impacts post-war in the Cold War was the rising of, for example, the FARC, the Sandinistas, uh, uh, so on and so forth. The Cubans being one of the first leftist movements to take arms and then take out Batista. So the question is, how did your country respond? Did your country respect our own sovereign processes? Or did you meddle systematically with the Contras, with the war on drugs, with disposing Allende in Chile in 73, and so many other events in the last, I would say, 74 years? I mean, hell, your country went to Vietnam and lost that war ridiculously, or Afghanistan or Iraq, the failures on that sense. So you want to ask me something about Latin America? I can gladly answer you to one thing. The communist movements here, unlike in the United States where there's virtually no leftism, have also failed us. The conservative Christian values have failed us. The leftist communist values have failed us. The communist conservative values, just like Daniel Ortega, who says the revolution is Christian, Sandinista, and communist, and he confabulates Christianity with communism. So you want a real answer, a simple, right answer? This last 200 years of independence in Latin America, we've had to deal with our own mistakes, adding to the insult of having to support assholes like Free Game or Jonathan that think that it's correct to involve United States foreign policy into our issues, making the war on drugs, making the Contra situation, deposing our presidents, and aggravating our condition, our political conditions, or
Bro,
I
having to
gotta
deal,
tell you, bro, you
or
gotta
if
having to
respect
y'all
the
deal.
establishment, man. I don't
Do you
get
ever
it.
it,
think that by y'all putting drugs in our country, that y'all are, intervening in our affairs over here?
Blame Nixon for
Doesn't
that.
it go both
Blame
ways?
blame Richard Nixon for that. He's the one who
It's
declared
the
the
two
No, no,
war
no,
on
no, no,
drugs,
no,
countries.
no,
Y'all
no,
and
no,
made
he
no.
went
See,
to the
y'all have
United
your own
Nations.
y'all
government.
made
Y'all
profits in those
government is supposed to
countries.
Uh-huh.
stop the shit.
Okay,
We
so
ain't supposed to
The
stop the shit.
government made
here's
You
the
all
profits,
thing.
and the
supposed to stop it.
people that was selling it
Interesting.
in your countries made profits on it. It's not a one-way street,
No,
like Jonathan
and,
said. There was
and,
profit
no,
being
no,
made.
no. Let me
and
tell you.
then
There was
and then
profits
they
being
working
made.
with China to get the fentanyl over
This,
there
this,
and
this,
talking about we
this
did it.
tells me you guys have
Y'all
no
want
clue
to
what
do
you're
it.
talking about. This tells me you guys have no clue what you're talking about. Let me tell you something really straight. For the past 60 years,
It's
through
not
the
that we don't have a
all
clue,
right,
bro.
One mic.
Man, get man, this
all right.
brother is
Hold on,
crazy.
one
He's
mic. This
crazy.
Yeah.
are Latinos.
Dynasty.
First,
What the hell?
it
Let me.
tells
No, I'm not going to talk over me.
sorry.
Are Latinos selling dope in America? Where does it come from?
Okay. First, the reality of the war on drugs is the 18th Amendment of your Constitution applied to the
I asked a simple question: are Latinos moving dope from South and Central America to the United States of America and
in the
selling?
same way U.S. citizens are selling that dope
I'm
in the states.
asking: is it a yes or no question?
Hey, is it not true that your own citizens are selling those drugs
Oh man, dude,
of
it's a.
all races?
I asked a yes or no question. The proof is
Again,
the point.
that question is irrelevant
How is it irrelevant?
because you are not analyzing why that is happening. You just want to catch a question. So here's the thing. The reason this is happening and the drugs is happening is because your government of Richard Nixon, administration of Richard Nixon, declared the war on drugs, and his people, alongside then his vice president, who then became president, went to the United Nations. At that time, the United Nations was modifying the Accords on Opium, and you had the two major conventions of drugs happening between 69 and 72. And that, you ask me why my countries are fighting this war. Because we agreed, my governments were stupid enough in the last 60 years to continuously agreeing with policy that has failed us all completely through the United Nations. So for all these motherfuckers who speak about globalism, etc., United States has taken the advantage of globalism to impose a policy one policy fits all for the past 60 years. And Republicans and Democrats alike have been utilizing that to control the situations here in Latin America. So you want to ask, why are there Latinos, Latin Americans, as well as U.S. citizens selling drugs in your country? You should ask that question to your government. And from the Nixon era on, including Donald Trump. Donald Trump did shit to change that reality. And you're still
I,
voting for a guy
He
who,
tried to stop the flow from dope coming in, man. What the fuck is you talking about, man?
bro, the
Damn.
cola leaf it grows in South America. What the hell are you talking about? And why are y'all working with China to get fentanyl? So America stopped doing the drug dealing to
free
y'all, and
game,
now y'all picked up another drug dealer. Come on,
free
man.
game, free game. You don't know what the hell you're talking about, and you have
You
not
keep
even
saying that. We don't
listened
know
to
what we're
me.
talking about. You keep on chalking it up to that.
Look,
You keep on chalking it up
did
to
I
that.
not
You
explain
have
to
no
you
real
why
comeback.
we're on
You
the
have no
drug
real
war?
comeback. You
No,
have no real
again,
comeback because we didn't
why
deny
are
that
we
Richard
fighting
Nixon
this
got
war on
involved.
drugs? Why is your
We
country
literally,
fighting the drug war
I literally
wars?
said that's the establishment party. That is
I don't give it.
literally the
It's your
whole deep
country.
state.
Stop making the
Yes,
differentiation
the
and
motherfucker ain't
assume a
agreeing
little
with
bit of
that.
knowledge in your
Trying to
country for
answer the
crying
deep
out
state.
loud.
See, he doesn't understand the
The
whole
deep
agenda
state.
at
Okay,
all
so you are
because
now
those
mentioning the deep
people
state.
don't
Who is
give
the deep
us no
state?
service. the
Who
people
is
that
the
are
deep
in the
state?
establishment,
Hey, guys,
people that fear God.
we're gonna close out. We gotta go ahead and close out. Everyone, thank you so much for joining.
Crazy. He done
Well,
subverted
thank you.
a whole
And it's
Pan
not
African
family
shit
We another
with
day,
this
another
Latin
day.
American shit.
You're talking.
I,
Let me
I
go to
enjoyed
a
the
Latin
conversation.
American
Okay.
panel and do this and talk.